Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando. And we are we live right now?
Yeah, we just did an intro.
Did we? Are you sure?
They're listening to us as we speak.
Oh man, okay. We are on episode 40.
40.
The anniversary episode.
Is 40 an anniversary?
I think so.
Wouldn't like 52 be an anniversary?
Why 52? Why not 50?
Because there's 52 weeks in a year.
Oh, I guess so. So obviously you can tell it's been a late night in the studio. We got so much planned. We got the meetup happening. We have a couple other things in the back working, kind of trying to get things out, and then recording our podcast.
That's right. And
we resell.
And this episode is about being baned or having, terrible things happen to you. And so I think even just the start of the episode, it was it was a little baned.
I thought we were just practicing. Baned. I thought that was just like you were like letting me know, hey, are you ready to go?
So Orlando just got baned in the start of the episode, which I think is fitting.
Very fitting. All right. Before we start baned, okay, so our episode is gonna be about how we've gotten baned and how to avoid it.
That's right.
All right. But before we do, you got to give us some background. Like there's some new listeners here that haven't heard the story of why we use the term baned in the Pure Hustle Podcast dictionary.
All right. So SparkNote version, if you want to hear the whole version, I'm sure we have an episode where that's it's like the whole part of the episode.
It's like episode 8 or something.
Yeah, but the SparkNotes version is I play a lot of board games, and one of the board games that I was playing with Orlando and some other friends was Love Letter, and it was specifically a Batman version of Love Letter. And although Love Letter does not sound like a very amazing game, it really is. It's incredible. But anyways, we're playing this game, and one of the cards that you can play is Bane, and it's a card that you play against another player when you think that you have like basically a better hand. If you've got like one of the best hands that you can have, you play it against another player and you can get them out. Orlando played a Bane and he was holding the lowest possible hand you can hold.
I was trying to bluff a little bit.
Yeah, but except for when you do that, you're out of the game. So he literally basically did a suicide move in the game. He's like, I play Bane. And when he showed his hand, it was like, well, there's not even a possible way you could win with that. So what were you doing? You just baned yourself. And it has become kind of a meme for us to be baned is, it's have something bad happen to you, but specifically and often can be used in the context of maybe it's a little bit self-inflicted. Maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. You kind of banned yourself. I'm looking right now at your coffee mug right over there.
Mm-hmm.
So do you not need any more coffee?
I don't need coffee right now, but I'm sure my mouth will be parched by the end of this episode, and I'll be very just dry, like trying to... I wasn't trying to
get some... That was a weird sound.
I know, I wasn't trying to do like ASMR. I know there's some people who like that stuff.
It's just awkwardness. I don't know. That stuff is awkward. I know some of you probably do it. I mean, I guess it's soothing. It depends who it is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, it's not even so much that. I don't think it's that they like who's doing it. It's that specific sounds cause specific sensations, and it's the sensation they're after more than like.
We're not that kind of podcast though.
No, but if.
Maybe we do put people to sleep though.
That's true. We might be that soothing, but who knows? Maybe we're totally missing out, and we could have like a Pure Hustle Podcast ASMR version.
I don't think we had any alliteration for that one. Pure Hustle Podcast
ASMR, PHP ASMR.
I don't think that works. Passmer? I don't know what that is. All right, let's get into the episode. People are like, "What are you guys talking about? What's going on?" All right, so we kind of wanted to share some of our tips based on our fails. Okay, so times that we got baned. So we kind of wanted to talk about, ways that we've been baned when sourcing, when listing, when packing, and then when dealing with buyers. All right, because we all have those moments. And on Instagram, right, a lot of it's highlight reel, right? So sometimes, people will post like, hey, this happened and I wish I did this better. But this is kind of what we wanted to do because our last episode, not our last one, not the update one, but the one before that, right, was reselling your way, right? Making sure that you do what is successful for you. And this episode, we want to talk about, working through those failures and finding success and not getting baned. You can think of any ways you've been baned while sourcing or things you wish you did better when sourcing?
Oh man, so many. So many. Yeah, it's hard to just think of each individual one, but I can't tell you how many times, and I'm getting better at this, but I can't tell you how many times I've been in a thrift store or at a garage sale and I look at an item, maybe I look up comps really quick and I'm like, profit, boom, it's in my basket, it's in my hand, I'm leaving with it, I get it home, and it's not until I'm taking pictures that I'm like, oh, the sole of this boot is literally falling off right now. In fact, here's one, and I may have mentioned this before, but it's such a standout because my wife and I went to a thrift store together, and we were different parts, but we both ended up like kind of crossing paths, and we were looking at the shoes, and we're like, oh, look at these, and we saw this nice pair of boots, and we were gonna get them, but we saw that the sole was coming off of the boots, and we're like, oh gosh, like there's no way, right? So we put them back. The next week I go to the thrift store and I'm looking around. I don't find anything. I'm like, oh, sweet.
Oh my goodness.
A pair of boots. I buy the boots. I get them home. We're about to take pictures. And it's like, oh my gosh. Not only are the soles falling off of these boots, but these are the boots that we had already looked at a week ago and said, who would ever buy something like this?
Oh my.
And it was us. Like I baned myself. That is a perfect example of banning yourself.
How do you prevent that?
Part of it is, I think, just slowing down. Like I think there is a certain sense of urgency when you're sourcing. Specifically, I feel like it happens more at garage sales than it does at thrift stores. But still, time is money, right? And I've always found it interesting. And this is slightly maybe off topic. I mean, it's not off topic, but it's looking at it from a different angle. I always have found it interesting that people will speed and do all these things to get where they're going really fast. And some people like run red lights, they'll take shortcuts, and they might get to where they're going like 3 minutes sooner than they would have if they would have just like gone the speed limit. But that sense of urgency of leaving the house, like, isn't there, right? It's like once you're in the car, it's like then the urgency comes, but it's like if you'd have just left 3 minutes earlier, you could have gone the speed limit and it would have been the same, right?
It's kind of when people say I'm late because of the traffic.
Right.
Right. But reality is, that could be true if there was like a major pileup or something. But most of the time it's because you just didn't leave on time. And then when the traffic hit, it made things worse.
Right. And so I think there's a sense of urgency you can feel if it's like, okay, today I'm going to go to some thrift stores. So you leave and you get to your first thrift store and you're going fast and you're trying to get as much as you can because there's like 3 more thrift stores you want to go to. And so there's this urgency of I got to get in as many as I can. But to realize that, one, you should slow down. There's a lot of benefits of slowing down. And two, if it was really so urgent, you could have gone a little earlier, you could stay out a little later, or you can split it up amongst other days. You know what I mean? Like, do you really only have 2 hours in your life total that you can go thrifting? If that was the case, go as hard and fast as you can. But it's probably not as urgent as you really think it is. So slow down, look at the items, really inspect them, know what you're buying, do the research.
No, I agree. And it's funny that you say that because I did get baned today. I had the same scenario. So I walked into a Goodwill. And, Goodwill prices lately have been kind of interesting. So I usually, when I see stuff behind the glass, I'm kind of already, going, hey, is this really worth what they put? So they had these, and I posted this on IG actually earlier today. They had these 2 trucks. And they were like toy trucks, like Altec. I don't know. They were like I guess like if you're, doing power lines or installing cable or something. And so I look at these and I thought they were $49.99, okay, for both. So I'm like, oh, that's a steal. Like, I'm going to pick those up. Well, I look after they opened the case and they were $49.99 each. Mm. But then I looked at comps and I just typed in, I think I typed in like Altec toy truck or something. And I saw comps that were going for over $100 for each one. I'm like, $50 a piece, that's not too bad. So then I thought, you know what, I'm going to work this a little more. I'm going to talk to the manager and see if, they'll work with me. And so, they did, which I was kind of shocked. And so I was able to get them for $79.99. And then this is the perk that I just, I got this gig doing this teaching job, super part-time, but now I have a teacher discount, right? And so not only am I going to make a little side income, but now it's going to definitely, help me in my ROI. So I was able to get to 10%. And I'm all excited. I'm leaving the store and I go to my car and I'm trying to make this Instagram post about, hey, look at the score I got. And then I put the exact names of each of the items and they're actually going for like $50 each.
Oh.
right? So, and I was like, oh, if I had just taken the time to do a little more research, right?
Right.
Spend 5 extra seconds and just put the right keywords, right? The
Yep.
exact title, I would have avoided that. Now, still going to make profit. I had the boxes. Mine were in better condition than the others. So maybe I'll make, I don't know, 30 to 40 bucks more. I'll make 30, 40 bucks more than I paid on each of them, but I'm not going to make anywhere close to the profits I had.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's huge.
So a way to avoid that is don't just put generic titles. I mean, when it comes to clothing, like if you have an eye and you know something, that's okay. But if you're dealing with something that you really isn't like your niche or your niche or whatever way you call it, like you definitely should put in that time to do that research.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of like knowing your brands, knowing what it is you should be purchasing, I recently, I think I've already mentioned one time in the past that I've bought quite a few 7 for All Mankind pants, and not too long ago I bought a pair of 7s, and my wife has always just called them 7s, and I bought a pair of 7s that were an off-brand, like cheap, chintzy, fake version of 7 for All Mankind, right? It's like I don't know if it's the Walmart version, but it's like not
the
the
Payless
real
version or something.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and they're just called 7s, and I don't think I really paid up for them, but I definitely paid more than they're worth because they're not worth anything really on eBay. And I was so excited at this garage sale to pick up a couple pairs, and then I get home, and my wife's like, "These are not what you think they are." And I was like, "What do you mean they're 7s?" And she's like, "Yeah, but they're not 7 for All Mankind." And I was
Nice.
like, "Oh, dope." And then a couple weeks later, she's listing some items that I had purchased at another garage sale, and I had bought a pair of True Religions that were fake.
How'd you know they were fake?
Well, she knows like the tags and brands and stuff like that. So I didn't have the eye for it, but she said when she picked them up, she's like, "Oh, these are cheap feeling. What are these?" And then when she saw they said True Religion, she's like, "Oh, these are fake." And then she did a little bit more research, and sure enough, they were fake. But it was like, I don't have the feel for it. Like I've never worn them. I don't know what they, you know what I mean? I haven't handled them enough to have been able to just at a garage sale pick them up and say like, nope. But now I know at least one more thing to look for. So sometimes getting baned is a good thing. Not that it's something you're looking for, but it provides information. Now it's more information that I have to act on in the future to avoid getting baned.
No, I agree. And I think I think it's okay to get banned at garage sale as long as, you're not dropping a lot of money,
Right.
but you're on the move, right? So you don't really have the luxury of time.
There is urgency at garage sales.
There is urgency, right? Because remember back in the day, like you would take your time and you would say you're a lot more, you move a lot faster now at garage sales, right? Because you need to. Like you don't want to get banned by spending all your time on the phone trying to research something just to save a few bucks.
Right.
Right. And so kind of like a story you told a few podcasts ago about the bows, like you dropped the 40,
Yep.
You didn't even look at everything, but you knew it was worth it. Right. So in those instances, I think it makes sense. But, when you're sourcing, another thing that I struggled with earlier on is I was really kind of haphazard when I source. Are you still like that? Like you just go to whatever store is on the way, or you don't really plan out your routes?
I kind of have to plan to an extent just because I don't have as much opportunity to source as I would like. But there are times where it's kind of spontaneous. So I'm just driving by somewhere. It's like, hey, I'm going to stop in for a couple of
Which
minutes.
I think that's fine. But I think when you're doing a road trip, like if you really want to maximize your time, there's two options. One is you spend the time and, you go online and you plan your route, or you connect with other resellers that are in the region. And, you can, and sometimes resellers don't want to share, all their spots, or you can go thrifting with them, right? Which has been a huge help. Like when I go to LA, it's been awesome. And, the great part about it was that we both source different items, right? So
Right.
we're not, banned because, this person will go to this part of the store, I'll go to this part of the store, this person will go to the other part, and we're good. And we're not, we're not having awkwardness about, hey, we found this, and go, oh, you took that from, that was my specialty or whatever. But so in my early days, I would do thrift store, sourcing, but I really wasn't strategic. So I would, there were some stores that were just bad stores, and I would just keep going, oh, they're gonna, they're going to replenish their stock. They're going to have new inventory. And that place just had junk every single time.
Right.
So you got to make those wise choices. Like, okay, I'll go to the store once a month. Another thing I see people do, I don't know, have you tried doing this? Like they make a calendar about when deals are at certain stores.
No, I mean, that's a good idea. I definitely am on some email lists where when stores have sales, I get the email and kind of plan it out. It's usually like the same day. It's like today, everything's 50% off. And I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have known that. I would have planned my day differently. But
well, here's the interesting thing. I've heard of the resellers talk about this, that on those sale days, you should go after the non-sale items. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, I mean, that does make sense. But
you're like, the ROI is greater.
Yeah, those are usually the items that are probably new or out that are not ready to go on sale yet, and probably they know are more profitable. So that's why it's not on sale. But yeah, I think I'm always looking at ROI, right? So if it's 50% off, that helps the ROI, that helps that return on investment. But that's that's only one of the factors. So I'm not going to specifically go after sale or not sale. I'm going after profitable items. That's kind of the key.
Okay. All right.
Speaking of which, I want to just take a moment to say you look really nice. I like the outfit.
It was laundry day. I'm serious.
Okay, so
you got to explain to the listeners what's going on.
Most people. All right, so if you're listening to the podcast, Rolando's actually wearing like a button-up shirt, like a checkered gingham button-up shirt, and normally he doesn't. Like we do this podcast pretty cash, t-shirts, and stuff like that, And so normally what you just said though was it's laundry day.
Yeah, it's laundry day.
So I think most people laundry day is the like wear sweats and like something like the most comfortable but like you don't want to go out in outfit. Laundry day?
Yeah.
So like laundry day for you is like I'm wearing like a nice outfit?
Yeah, because I don't want to go out with this. Like I just again, it's funny because my everyday attire when I was in a school administrator was stuff like this all the time, right? Where now that I'm full-time reseller, like I can wear what I want.
It's true. I didn't want to go down the whole path of outfits again, but just want to say you look nice. You look nice.
We did have some people comment like, "Hey, Orlando, like you need to spruce up the way you dress, and you need to."
Well, as you guys can see, he's a very sharp dressed man, and if you're just listening, tune into our YouTube. It's nice to get a chance to actually see and comment. Like that's the nice thing with YouTube too. If you're just listening, please keep listening. We love you listening to our podcast. I mean, we are a podcast. But if you want to at least get into some conversations, there's some pretty awesome comments that happen on our YouTube page. So if you have some stuff you'd like to say about the episode, because a lot of times,
and our comments haven't been turned off.
No, comments are not turned off. They're on, and a lot of times the information in the comments are even better than what you're getting in the podcast, right? Like people our listeners are incredible, super smart. They've got great ideas. So yeah, jump in there on those comments.
I agree. So, okay. Anyways, going back to sourcing. So one of the things I'll talk about too is, when you're sourcing, you got to make sure you have enough capital. I think I can't tell you, especially on garage sales, I know this is common sense, but I can't tell you how many times I've had the awkward moment where there's a deal in front of me and I have to say, I'm sorry, can I go to the bank and come back? Have you had that experience yet? I know you've only been doing this for a few months.
I haven't, but I mean, I'm never 100% sure if I'm bringing enough. Like my petty cash, as it were, that I typically bring to garage sales, like $200 to $300. Do you feel like that the listener should be more than that? Should I be having more than that? Like, what is the?
Well, I don't want to get into specifics, because I don't want to.
No, fair enough. Yeah, nobody wants to be mugged out in the
open. But I will say, especially like if you're going to community garage sale, like you're going to be dropping copious amounts of money, right? At least you hope so.
I hope so.
Right? And you got to make sure you have enough bills. So you got to make sure you have dollars, because if you don't have $1, right, and you're at a garage sale and it's early and they're like, oh, let me look for some change, and they go up to the back of the house and they're looking for it, man, you're losing time.
Yep.
Right? So you got to make sure you have all your bills ready. But, if you're going community, that's been where I've always gotten banged, where like I can remember one place I grabbed, I think they had it was like a Bose system, 2 huge stand-up speakers, 2 ceiling speakers, whatever it was. And it was $400. And all I had on me was $300.
Hmm.
And here's what happens. And I've seen it happen. And if comment below if you've seen this happen, where like I offer and they're like, yeah, we'll take it. And then I leave and I see other resellers creep on it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that happens.
And they'll go to the guy, and I've done, and I've seen it happen. Like I'm driving away and I stop the car and I listen, and they're like, hey, that guy said he's going to give 400, but you don't know if he's going to come back. Right. He's just maybe telling you that I'll give you 450 right now. Now, I will tell you, I've done that myself.
Ooh.
So I'm going to confess here.
All's fair, right?
Well, I've had people leave, and I don't know if I broke the reselling honor code and you're not a fan and you're not happy with me, let me know in the comments below.
Yeah.
But
shame.
Well, no, because I've had people,
No, that's called hustling, man. You got to do what you got to do.
But sometimes people leave and they don't come back.
Yep.
Right. So you got to make sure you're ready, because I've had it too where a guy did give me the deal. Like I said, hey, are you sure that guy's going to come back? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I said, here's my card, let me know. And sure enough, like it was a half hour. The guy didn't come back in time. And the guy called me. I was in the same community garage. So I came right back, dropped the money, and I walked away with the merchandise.
That's crazy. You know what that reminds me of? I mean, it happens a lot when I go into a grocery store or something. I forget my wallet and have to run back out. It's really annoying. But I remember one time specifically, I was in high school and had a whole bunch of items in my cart, and I'm like checking out, and I realized I left my wallet in the car. And so I'm like, I will be right back. I'm so sorry. So I run out to my car and I come back in, and they're already putting the stuff away. And I was like, I'm back. I've got and they're like, oh, we're so sorry. We thought for sure you were not coming back.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, thanks. But yeah, it happens. I'm sure, it happens at grocery stores all the time, and I'm sure it happens at garage sales, so good job swooping in there. But yeah, you got to be careful. I think we're moving more and more towards a place though. I've been to several garage sales where I remember it was when I was first starting too. I don't have enough cash right now, right? Was my excuse, because I didn't, I was still just looking at stuff, and someone's trying to sell a bunch of purses, and I didn't feel comfortable enough saying like, no, I'm not interested. It was like, oh, I don't know. Like, let me think about it. I don't know. I didn't really bring enough. Oh, we have a Square, or we accept Venmo. It's like, oh.
No, that is nice. I hear that.
So hopefully more and more people start taking Venmo or start, using Square or something like that. So that way it's just easier transactions.
So I'll say one more thing about not getting banned on garage sales. Have you ever gone to garage sales without having your route planned?
Oh yeah. I mean, there was one time where I had to text you for your route.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
Yeah.
And then we ended up just going. And then the worst part about it was all the houses I was taking us to were houses you already went to.
Yep. You sent me to, and I'm like, nope, I've already done those. It was the weirdest thing because it was supposed to be a community sale. And so it had all of the addresses listed on the Craigslist ad, but like, I was just like, okay, it's like a big community. Like, I'm just going to drive around the community. No, this wasn't just a big community. It was like 5 giant communities with like 3 houses every like mile in different spots. So it wasn't just like you could just drive a couple loops. And so you had to know where the houses were. There were signs everywhere, but you could not find them unless you had it like already in your phone planned out.
Yeah. And I agree. I can tell you when I first started, I would have like maybe 5 on my route, and then I'd be like, oh, we'll see if there's others. And I would drive for hours, and time is money.
Yep.
So, and I know most of you that have started reselling or been reselling for a while, this is like common sense. You're like, Orlando, we know this, but it's just a good reminder, because I'll do that freestyle. Like, I want to be like American Pickers. You know how on the show, sometimes they're just driving, they're like, oh, we're going to go freestyling.
Right.
Like, there's no freestyling in American Pickers. Like, it's all staged.
Oh, yeah, it's all
set up, right?
For sure.
So, don't let that dictate that, hey, you may get lucky. All right, I want to say one more thing. Social media and sourcing. What is the potential to get banned? Social media and sourcing.
Well, I mean, the obvious one, especially when you're talking about retail arbitrage, is either listing your item that you're buying, your bolo, and then other people start buying it, or jumping into the hype of other people's bolos and dropping all of your money, spending all of your capital, and then the market tanks because everybody's purchasing it.
Yeah, and I wanted to take it a few steps before you even get to that process. I want to talk about like sharing on Instagram like before you're done sourcing. So I've seen this happen, and I'll admit it happened to me one time too. And I can't say it's because I posted on Instagram, but what I've had people do on social media is they're like, hey, I'm going sourcing, I'm looking for these items, right? And so it's like 9 a.m., right? So this is 9 a.m. like on the East Coast. It's 6 a.m. over here on the West Coast. No one's really gone to any stores yet, right? Or I've seen somebody like they'll be like, hey, I'm outside a store right now. There's these huge deals that are about to drop. I can't wait to get inside. And I go,
and then more people start showing up.
yeah, I'm like, you just gave me 30 minutes to get out of bed, jump in the shower if I choose to, eat some cereal, and get to the same stores you're at and beat you to those products.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, that's
like that is, you're so getting banged. Like,
yeah.
and I think it's rampant on social media. Like, if you notice, I'll post our stories like late, like something like tonight. I'm not going to post a story till midnight just because, well, I ran out of time. But part of it is I didn't want people tracking where I was and going, hey, this item's at this store and this store and this store. That makes sense?
No, absolutely.
So especially Q4, I can't tell you how many times on Q4, and I'll just admit it, like I would see somebody post something on the East Coast and I'm like, oh, these are out now. And I go to the stores and I pick up the exact same thing. So don't get banged. Like we got to be, I get it. We're all about sharing and we're about, helping each other out, but it's a business too. And so you got to stay guarded.
Yeah. And remember, getting banged is something bad happening. Sometimes it's out of your control, but sometimes it is self-inflicted.
I agree. Oh, I wish I could go into the story. So, hope those of you that follow us on Instagram, hey, it gives a great chance to let you know. If you haven't followed us on Instagram yet, we are Pure Hustle Podcast on Instagram, Pure Hustle Cast on Twitter, Pure Hustle Podcast on Facebook. If you're watching us on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast, subscribe to us. Check us out on this side. There's some interesting visuals every once in a while, I guess. Hit that like button, hit that alert button to be alerted. We're looking to build our subscribers, and comment below. And then, hey, if you haven't had a chance yet, if you would love to write us a review on the podcast for iTunes or Spotify, it'd be greatly appreciated. And share our podcast. Let other people know. And hey, if you ever want to give us a call about how you got banged, that'd be awesome. 619-738-1170. That's 619-738-1170. Or you can shoot us an email at purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. And last of all, if we have helped prevent you getting banged at any time and you just want to, show us a quick thank you, there's a link below for donation, whether it's a one-time or a monthly, just to say thank you. We really would appreciate that because our goal is to help you not get banged.
Yeah, we want to help. We want you to learn from our mistakes and let the community learn from the community's mistakes.
It's so true.
Because
we've learned, I will tell you, I've learned so much from YouTube and podcasts by hearing about how other people failed and avoiding those missteps.
Yeah, I may have already used this one, but the great quote that I've heard many times is something to the effect of foolish people never learn from their mistakes, smart people learn from their mistakes, and wise people learn from other people's mistakes.
100%. Totally agree.
Be wise, learn from others' mistakes.
There you go. That's like it should be on our shirt sometime. And one more thing we want to bring up. Hey, upcoming meetup. We're getting super close. And so if you haven't had a chance, we have a large group coming. And
Where are we going?
Oh, Red Robin.
Yum.
That's just, I just want to do that every time. Hey, we're going to be in Santa Ana, March 30th, 4 to 7 p.m. And it's not like a meetup like, hey, get to know Pure Hustle Podcast. It's more of a like, hey, get to network with other resellers, and Pure Hustle Podcast will be there along with a bunch of other great resellers. So if you hadn't had a chance, RSVP in our link tree, or you can RSVP in the link below of this video.
Yeah.
Hope to see you guys there. All right, let's talk about getting banged when listing. Are you
go first on this one. Let me think about it.
So here's what happens. So you source a bunch of items, right? You got some clothing, you got some shoes, you got some electronics, and you're like, I'm going to source all of these. I'm going to list all of these right now. But man, it takes a really long time, right? Because you get the mannequin out, you put all the clothing on there, then you take the mannequin down, then you get your light box and you do all your shoes, then you take your light box down, then you get your electronics, and you have to test your electronics. And then let's say you have some hats, you got to get your mannequin head and get your hat and get your light box out. So early on, I wasted a lot of time listing. And the reason being is I wasn't strategic. And this is, especially for those of you that are new, I'm not saying keep death piles, but definitely source until you have a good amount and then list. right? So don't try to list everything now. If it works for you and you have, 5 different listing, and picture stations in your place, good for you. That's awesome. But if you don't, the best way to avoid getting banged and losing all that time is, for me, my limit is if I have more than, 10 shirts or 10 pairs of shoes or 10 hats, I'll list them all in a row. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Did you apply any of that early on, or were you kind of like, hey, I'm gonna take pictures and list whatever I have?
Well, I think part of that is the key word you said there was early on. So I think for any of our listeners out there who are really new to reselling, I'm still new, but I've finally built up quite a bit of a pipeline. When you're really new, you're listing everything as soon as you get it because you're only getting a handful of items. You might only have 10 items in your death pile, and you might only have 10 items in your store, right? So so obviously the suggestion there is list. Like Orlando said, though, you're going to get to a place where you're starting to get more and more items, and you're starting to maximize the efficiency of your process. And I think you're right. I think you're right in saying that it's a good idea to have piles, or not necessarily piles, but like categories of, okay, here are my clothes, here are my shoes, here are my electronics, here are my miscellaneous home goods, and spend a day doing all of one type, because they tend to be similar in either the way you take the pictures, how you do the listings, how you're doing measurements. So yeah, if you can create almost like an assembly line, as it were,
agreed.
It definitely saves a lot of time. And I think one of the things with getting banged with the listings, as it were, is the learning process when you're new. I think as you get better at it, it happens less and less often. But when I was first starting out, there were so many times where there would be items where I would take the pictures. I was trying to get more efficient, so I'd take a bunch of pictures of items and then list later, and then realize like I missed an important picture. Like I don't have the size.
Man.
I don't have the size of these shoes.
I've had that. Yeah, you missed the tag.
Yeah,
I agree.
And so it's a learning process. It's a learning process through the listing. And then other things is, multiple times when I first started, I'd accidentally set it as an auction instead of as buy it now. Right. And so going back through and making those corrections. And so I feel like anything, you get better as time goes. And I feel like that should be the case with all of these categories. But I feel like listing is one of those ones where there's a lot of mistakes early. And then as you go, it gets easier and easier and more efficient. Do you have examples of like recent listing banes?
Oh yeah. Well, the shoe one happens all the time, right? And it's the worst for me is when it's already in the storage unit. It's already like several totes down, and then you really don't find out about it until like a buyer messages you, right? And you're like, oh, and then you miss out on that sale because. Do you really want to go back to the totes? Do you really want to take it out? I mean, unless it's really worth something.
It's really frustrating to do. I did that just today. My wife was like, we got a question on a pair of shoes. And so I had to go out and look at them, measure them. You know what I mean? So it's a lot.
No, I agree. So what about pricing? Do you think you can get banged in pricing?
I'm sure. I'm trying to think of specific examples, but there's definitely been times where I've listed items way too low. There's probably been times that I probably have items right now that are listed too high, and I haven't gone back through and checked some of my items that, I might need to go through and check. But that was a lot easier when I had 30 items in my store, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, I should adjust this. I might have been a little overzealous with it. But now that I've got several hundred items in my store, I don't know what's in there, what I need to check.
No, I agree. So I really wanted to communicate this in this podcast because I don't know, it's strange because, we post a lot on IG, and I always post list high, list high, list high, list high, like constant lists. And I know everybody has their different models. 2 podcasts ago is about doing the reselling model that works for you. But I want to reiterate, if you're new, don't leave money on the table by going, I don't know if somebody would pay this much for this. If the market is showing it, then list it high. So I'll give you an example. So Doc Martens, I see it all the time. People are selling Doc Martens right now for $20. And I'm telling you, I can't think maybe one time over the last year that I sold a pair of used Doc Martens for $20. every single pair I have, I will list for more than $50. Now, will I take an offer for 35 or 40? Sure. If if there's some wear, or I think that, there's others that are in better condition and have sold for more, I may take that, but don't sell yourself short. Because remember, you're listing not for something you're going to buy, because you're a reseller. You're never going to pay top dollar. But you have, that individual that has, they're in a different socioeconomic state, and, money isn't that much of an issue, and they really want that item and they want it now and they see it, they're going to pay that top dollar consistently all the time. So please remember, I don't know, I'm begging, I'm pleading, because I see so many people, when I put my listings up, and I'll give you an example. I've had, for example, I'll throw one out there, like a basketball jersey. I posted this on IG like 2 weeks ago. I had a basketball jersey that people had been selling for $30, $40, but I did see comps that they sold for close to $100. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take better pictures. I'm going to have free returns. I'm going to list this for $99.99, because you know what? It's going to be a collector. The right person's going to get there. And sure enough, I had it on a 15% sale, and I sold it for $84.99. The closest listing to that was one for $23.99, right? That sold. So, and I'm not saying it's every time. And I want to add one more thing, is it's part of your pipeline. Like, if you build a good enough pipeline, like, you can afford to list things high and have some of that money tied up for a little while to get that extra dollar.
That's good. It's good stuff. Yeah, I think that's pricing yourself. Pricing well is one way of avoiding being baned when you're listing. So remember, take good pictures, price well.
I'm so passionate about this. One more thing I wanted to add is, remember, those that are willing to pay more are going to give you less problems.
Interesting.
I find that to be true over and over again. Like, I can't think of a single item that I sold for a lot of money that I got close to negative feedback or somebody complained. It's always the lower dollar items.
Interesting.
If you agree with me, comment below, because I'm sure there's plenty of you that will say, you know what, you're right, Orlando. It's always those lower dollar sales that cause me problems.
No, I believe it. That makes sense. I got a quick, this isn't like a terrible bane, but it's kind of a funny bane. We had pictures we were taking for Poshmark of some jeans, and we're going through them all on some of our listings. And as we're putting up the pictures, because we did that, we went through, we had like 30 some pairs of jeans. We did them all at once, and
jeans
we're posting.
Are tough.
They are, yeah. So we're posting them, and we see in one of the pictures, like the crucial picture, the best picture of this jean. My son's hand is sticking into the picture.
I've seen that picture,
and it's just sticking into the picture, and it's just there. Like we're like, well, we're not taking everything out of the totes. We're not retaking this picture. So our main picture of these jeans has my son's hand sticking. It's a little creepy. It's a little weird. It's also kind of cute because we know it's my son. But I'm sure there's somebody looking at the pants like, what in the world? Is it a little
arm
hand?
not included?
Like,
hands not included?
So be careful when you're taking your picture. Sometimes you miss something, and sometimes you miss that something's in the picture that shouldn't be in the picture.
That is true. That is true. And hey, also another part is, don't include stuff that's not part of your listing. I know that, in Poshmark, isn't that the thing they do in Poshmark? Like, you accessorize your picture?
Some people do. We don't do that anymore. We started doing that, but we don't accessorize anymore.
Were you getting like questions? Like,
no. Okay. That's definitely understood in the Poshmark community that is a way of doing it. It just takes more time. In fact, a lot of people in Poshmark, there's a lot of people who will model almost everything that they sell. Like, they'll buy stuff in their own size and they model it with the full outfit. Like, so they try and accessorize, like, this is what it would look like. Yeah. So
interesting.
It's definitely a different platform, but not everybody does that. And we just don't have time now with the amount of listings we try and get up there.
Okay. I will say with pictures, like, outside of Mike's son's hand, like, there shouldn't be, like, your fingers should never be in the pictures.
Right.
Right. I mean, maybe if you're like a hand model, like you're a George Costanza of hand modeling, but I don't know.
There's some times where, like, I'm trying to like pull back the tongue of something, or like hold something at a right angle, and like you can't get the finger out of the picture. But I don't do like the point at flaws. What do you do like when there's a flaw? Is there anything you do to?
I just take a picture of the flaw. So, like, if I have to like hold something up, I'll crop it so it just shows the picture of the flaw.
No, what about size? Like, if you're trying to show like the size of like a tear, do you use like a penny or something to like reference?
I'll just measure it with the measuring tape,
okay,
and I'll just put the measurement for it. I will tell you, it's weird. Like my listings have evolved over time, but I'm not as specific as I used to be.
Yeah,
And it's worked
less
in my
is more.
favor. Yeah. So for instance, if I have a shoe that has a bunch of like let's say a pair of Doc Martens, right? And people like their Doc Martens, sometimes they like them looking rough. So if there's a bunch of cosmetic wear, I'll just put cosmetic wear throughout, parentheses, please see pics. That's it. If I have a leather jacket that's vintage that has, a lot of discoloration and maybe, some nicks here and there, I'll just put discoloration throughout with some, possible tear. And if there's anything that's major, I'll take a picture of it, but I won't put the measurement. I'll just say, please look at pictures. And I haven't had a single issue. So I don't know. Maybe some of you might disagree. I do find that there's kind of a balance. Like some people don't even put measurements. So I want to talk about that. Do you put measurements to your clothing now?
No.
None of them. Like you don't like measure the sleeves or the hem or the chest?
Only for Poshmark. Well, because we cross post now, there are pictures of it. I don't know. I don't think we put it really in the description on eBay. I need to double check because my wife does a lot of the clothing pictures because she's doing Poshmark and eBay for those. But what we do in our little assembly line for especially shirts is we lay the shirt down flat. We just do armpit to armpit. We don't do anything else.
Okay.
And we just take a picture of that. So that way they can see in the picture like what the armpit to armpit measurement is.
Okay.
But I know there's some people who go crazy and they take every measurement and put it like into like a piece of software that then shows like...
Oh, like using Sizely and stuff like that. Well, I want to encourage you. You probably need to take a couple more measurements. And this is why I say this. So I can't tell you how many times it saved me on two ends. So I've had people message me like, hey, what is, the length of this item? And I'm like, well, it's in the description. Okay, right? Save my time, right? I don't have to go out there and measure it. But I've had, messages and then I've had like returns that were items not as described, right? And I've actually had negative feedback put on my record. So I had one time a jacket that I had all the measurements in, and I always when I put measurements, I put the size, and in parentheses, I say, please see measurements below for proper fit. And so this person, I've had this happen multiple times. They'll buy a jacket and they'll say something to the effect of, oh, I'll give you a Hawaiian shirt, make it easier. Oh, this isn't an extra large. This shrunk in the dryer. Like this was incorrectly described, right? And they've given me a negative feedback. So I'll call eBay and I'll say, well, actually, so-and-so on eBay, I actually put in my description, please see measurements for proper fit. So I put XL, but if you looked at the measurements, the person would have been able to measure and know that this wasn't a true XL. And sure enough, eBay goes, you know what? You described it exactly as it is. We're going to remove the negative feedback. Right? And so I think measurements are crucial. They save you time. Yes, I know. Getting the measuring tape and measuring and all that, like it's not, it's time consuming. But I want to say in my time, I've probably had 20 negative feedbacks and probably, I don't know, I'm just throwing out random numbers. I don't have any negative feedbacks, by the way, but 12 of them were kind of like those cases and they just got removed by eBay. So just got to be careful. You don't want to get banged by, trying to be efficient, but at the same time, losing out that opportunity to communicate things to protect yourself later on.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
So, all right. What about packing? You got some Bane stories for packing? Some newer ones or retread some older ones?
Yeah, our very first Poshmark sell, I mentioned this, our very first, and it's not like we had a mistake with the packing, but like it's as we're about to pack that it's like, oh man, this is a bummer. So our very first Poshmark sell was a backpack, and we'd retail arbitrage, right? Like felt pretty good about ourselves. So, bought a bunch of backpacks, and we only had one of this print, and we go into the tote and pull it out. It's new with tags, beautiful backpack. The handle part that you hold at the top, broken. Like it just had broke off. And so we don't know if it was broken when we bought it, like we just missed it, or if somehow like when the cashier was checking it out, like it broke. We have no idea when it broke. It didn't seem like it was broken in the picture. So, man, that was a bummer, especially because it was our first Poshmark sale. So we're like, we had to like message the buyer and say like, actually we can't sell this to you. So we had that. And then more recently than that, same kind of story. one of my bolos from a few months ago was ski boots, right? Like the right brands of
I
ski
remember
boots.
those, yeah.
And
I
so-
was actually impressed because I haven't sold a pair of ski boots yet.
Yeah, I've sold quite a few.
Nice.
And there was one pair that we had that was like really nice, and it was a huge ROI. I think I bought the boots for like $2, and they sold for like $89, right? So I was like really excited about these.
That's a hustle.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then we go to pack them, and from sitting in the garage, the only thing I could think, because I mean they're old, they're used, I don't know how long it's been like that, but one of the edges on the ski boots, I don't know what you call them, the latches was latched, and it must have been just too much tension on it, and it had dry rotted or something, and it cracked the side of the boot where it
I
connected
hate it
from
when
there.
that happens.
And it's like, are you kidding me? Like this huge return on investment, a great sale, and got a message to the buyer. Sorry, we can't sell this to you. It's not structurally sound. It broke. We don't know how it broke. We don't know how it broke, but it broke. So, I mean, that's part of the thing when you have used stuff, but
Yeah.
you know, it's a bummer.
So
What
how would
about
you have
you?
done that differently?
I mean, I don't think there is really anything I could have done differently on that. I don't think that's like a self-inflicted bane.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think that's just a, you know, you got the short straw on that one.
Okay. I've had, the longer you do it, the more shipping issues you have, right? So I can't tell you like how many times eBay global shipping has saved me from losing money. Like, and it's funny because I keep saying this. I'll say this until it's not anymore. But episode 5 is our less listened to podcast out of all of them. So weird, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's because it's an early one, and
Were
it's a
we
shorter
still
one.
awkward?
We're still awkward now. What are you talking about?
That's true, but we were super awkward in the early episodes. So those of you that have listened to us since day one, we appreciate you sticking with us.
Yeah, you saw something in us that, I don't even know if we saw.
Well, it's funny because like you go on YouTube or you go on our podcast and you go to our listens, like we get a lot of listens to episode 1, and then you go to 2 and 3 and it's less.
Yeah, well, it's because they watched episode 1.
I know. And I wish we could redo episode 1, but hey, thank you guys that stay with us. But, I had a board game. I don't even know what happened. It was new, sealed, and packaged. New, sealed, and packaged. And I shipped it to the UK. Global shipping program. Person gets it in the UK. Apparently the game inside was completely like destroyed, like rotted, like it was messed up. And it was sealed and packaged. Like I had no way of knowing. And so the person gave me a negative feedback. But if you know anything about global shipping, they guarantee they will remove any negative feedback. Like they've changed their language a little bit. Like, and used to say pretty much like, no matter what, we're going to remove like negative feedback. But so what happened is the buyer was mad. Like they were not happy. And they're like, you sent me something that was destroyed. You probably picked this up in a thrift store and it's ruined. And I can't believe, this happened. And, you're definitely going to get a negative feedback. This is unacceptable. I mean, they were pretty upset. And so I called eBay and I said, hey, and this is how you should, I would say, form your argument. And I think it's accurate. Because you don't know, right? You can always argue what you don't know. Does that sound weird?
I know where you're going with this.
Okay. So, hey, I sent this out. When I shipped it out, it was new, sealed, and packaged. To me, the content should have been fine. It's possible that something happened over shipping on the way over there. I don't know. I'm really sorry. Like, I really didn't want this to happen. Is there any way, that the negative feedback could get removed? And they're like, oh, no problem. You shipped it through eBay Global Shipping. We'll take care of you. Done. Right? So if you ever get anything damaged via eBay Global Shipping, always start with, I'm not sure, but it's possible that while being shipped, the item got damaged.
Yep. I mean, that's good as long as, like you said, when you sent it, it was in good condition. You know that. So, yeah.
I mean, because it's happened over, I think Will from Thrifty Nomads had the same scenario. Like he shipped something, it was all fine, and it ended up like destroyed because I'm telling you, like depending on the country, there's some countries like you have no idea
Yeah.
Like what they do, right? And I'll read right from eBay's page about the benefits of global shipping. They say any negative or neutral feedback that can be attributed to the global shipping program from item handling during international transit will be removed. That's beautiful.
It's wonderful.
I'll listen. If there's anything that we can say for sure sets eBay apart from every single platform out there is the global shipping program. Don't get banned. If you're not doing it, do it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember back in the day when you first talked about global shipping and I wasn't doing it yet. And I turned it on and sure enough, some of my best sales have been through global shipping. So
and usually they're full price.
Yep.
I mean, every once in a while you'll get somebody else say, hey, customs is too high through global shipping. I think eBay charges a pretty dime. But again, if somebody's buying something internationally, they probably have, the wherewithal to take care of that. So
they got the moolah.
And then, packing, I mean, there's so many different things, but, I always say it's better to overpack. And, let's talk about FBA a little bit. So I'll attribute this to Steve Rakin from Rakin Profit because this stuck to me. I don't know what video, I don't know when he said it, but he always said, people make fun of me on my taping, right? You've made fun of my taping for FBA, right? I can use a little bit of tape. Okay, I can use a lot, right? And, he had said one time, he goes, why would you do the least to send the most? He didn't say it in that way, but something similar. So, sometimes we send FBA shipments and there's like $2,000 to $3,000 of product in there. So why would you do the bare minimum with taping and padding? Like, that's just not smart. You're asking to get banned. Right. And I've had people DM us like, hey, I sent a box in and my item got destroyed. And now Amazon is causing me to take the loss because it was a carrier thing and it wasn't damaged in the warehouse. So if you're doing FBA, remember, even if it means looking obnoxious and having a bunch of extra tape and padding, it's worth it because look at all that you're sending in. Don't get banned. Make that wise choice.
Yeah, I think part of the reason you got made fun of specifically for the FBA packages is you were using eBay tape, which I think is a little bit more of like a decorative tape. Like it is not like strong packing tape.
You think so? I like it.
Yeah, no, I like to use regular like Scotch, whatever it's called.
The ones from Costco.
Yeah, the packing tape. And then use a strip of eBay tape around to say like this box is for eBay, because it's just stronger tape. The Costco stuff.
Okay,
it just is.
Well,
so maybe you wouldn't have to use. So maybe you are using.
Sponsored by Bascom Logistics, who provides eBay tape.
Yeah, that eBay tape is great. I love it so much. I have so much of it.
No, I still, you know what? I still have tape from the eBay hack back in, what was it, October?
Mm-hmm.
I still have tape. Even though I gave you tape, it's March.
That's awesome.
I mean, think about it. I may go with this tape until June. Oh, I got to tell you, what a deal. All right. So packing, never hurts to do that extra. It's funny. Have you ever bought something on eBay that was terribly packed? Like got shipped to you and you're like, what in the world?
Okay. Yes and no. I've gotten packages, and maybe this is something that some of our listeners do. So I'm not trying to like diss this, but I've always been afraid of doing it myself. But I've gotten packages where there's like, it's breakable items or whatever. And the people they don't even ship through USPS, but they use a bunch of USPS products as the padding on the inside.
Oh my, I've seen that. I know what you're talking about. Like they'll use the padded.
The bubble wrap, like the bubble padded wrap as the bubble wrap, right? They'll like use like 10 of them plus some other boxes. And I'm always like,
That's so
like,
shady.
I mean, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't want to judge because, I mean, maybe like
I can't say I haven't used. Are we incriminating ourselves? Okay, I'm not going to go there, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, well, and also recycle, right? Like I recycle stuff, so there's sometimes where a USPS box that we got something in or that like got broke through other ways. It's like, okay, I can, instead of just throwing this away, I can like cut pieces of it out as like, padding for different stuff. But yeah, so I've gotten stuff like that shipped that I'm always like, I would be worried for the seller selling it like that. Cause what if somebody like, I don't know, could they turn you in? Like, I don't know.
I
Like,
don't know. You have a federal inspector at your house.
hey man, you don't mess with the government.
No, I agree. I agree. Hey, I wanted to talk about one more thing though about shipping. So I don't know, maybe you disagree, but I used to be very big on getting as much free supplies as possible. Right. And this is for another podcast about, we're going to do this down the road about like what's a good investment for reselling. But I used to spend so much time like Frankenboxing or whatever, creating boxes or, you know, going, oh, I need to get some bubble wrap. I'm going to go drive out to this dumpster over here, or I need this. And I don't know how much time I lost, but eventually I got to a place where I'm like, I'm just going to buy these boxes. Because, yeah, it's going to cost me a little more. But for instance, eBay, I don't know if they strategically chose boxes, but like the 10 by 8 by 6, the 12 by 6 by 6, I wish they would bring back the 12 by 10 by 8. But those boxes like work, like they're good boxes. Right. And so don't bang yourself by thinking you're saving money by spending a bunch of time looking, you know, in different places for stuff. Now, if you have nice people like Mike used to do back in the day when we worked at school together who drops off boxes, that's one thing. But if you're out there searching, you may be losing money because that time you could be sourcing, you could be listening, you could be taking pictures. So how are you on your supplies? Are you good to go?
I feel pretty okay with boxes now. Man, air pillows are like gold. I could just get some more air pillows because I use a lot of paper now. I go and I buy like the blank white paper for packing
from U-Haul or
yeah. Okay. So, but man, like air pillows. If I feel like I've got like 3 white kitchen trash bags full of air pillows of different various sizes, but I'm so like stingy with them. Like I never want to use them.
Yeah.
Every time I open, like, cause you think like I got these 3 trash bags full and you reach your hand in and you pull out like one section worth and like the bag gets like halfway now and it's just enough for one box and you're like, oh no, like there goes like a third of my supplies. So
no, I agree.
I don't know. Like I wish there was a way to get cheaper air pillows like consistently.
Maybe we'll invest on an air pillow machine. We'll split the difference and then we'll just create a bunch like every week. Like you'll come over and I'll get my stash, you get your stash, and then we pass off the machine every week. Sound good?
That's a good idea. Let's do it.
We'll have to drop some serious money though.
Yeah, I think they're like tens of thousands.
No.
No?
No, like several hundred.
No,
yes.
Not for like a legit one.
Yeah, they have like the smaller kinds.
Really?
If you have a recommendation, let us know.
Yeah. Do you make your own air pillow? I mean, if it's just hundreds, man, I don't even think we need to split that.
No, I think so.
I'm going.
And I got a connection too.
Oh, you got an air pillow connection?
I do.
Oh man.
I just don't want to drop the whole amount on it. So, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll set it up in the studio. And as we're doing our podcast,
we're just
like
there.
Making air pillows.
Being efficient with their time.
That's right.
All right. Hey, let's talk about getting baned and dealing with buyers.
Oh gosh.
Is that a hard one?
You know, every time I get an eBay message now, my heart just sinks.
Okay, that is so true. I got to tell you, I can't stand eBay messages. Anytime I look and I'm like, oh, it's an offer, and I see message so-and-so, I'm like, no.
And sometimes it's nice things. It's just like a question about an item. But I've had enough terrible messages that I'm like, oh gosh, here we go.
Really? In your short time?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, we've talked about some of them with like customers complaining about just stuff and like demanding refunds or returns. And luckily, I mean, if you've been listening to us and like following some of the stories we've been talking about, my dishes, my Christmas dishes.
Oh, whatever happened with that?
They've never responded to our response that like, hey, just send us some pictures and we'll refund you. They've never sent us pictures. So it's been several months now. And I think
so Mike sent out some dishes broke, right?
They said that they were not packed well and arrived broken, which I don't believe because it's always possible. I mean, anything could happen during shipping, but they were packed well. Like their complaint was like, these were poorly packed, that's not true. Okay. Simply not true. So they said like three of the cups broke. It's unacceptable for the price they paid for it. Please, we want replacements. They were saying we need replacements. And we said, well, we don't have replacements because it's a one of a kind item that we had purchased. We'll gladly refund you. Please just send us pictures. crickets. Those and a pair of ski boots. Man, I have not done well with ski boots. I mean, I've done well with ski boots, but I've had quite a few. One of them, the person said that the size is wrong. They're like, these do not fit me. And it's like, well, they're such and such size. Yeah, but they don't fit me. It's like, well, you need to know your own size, right? Like, I'm sorry they don't fit you. And they said, and there was a sock inside of it.
Wait, wow. Did you leave a sock inside?
I didn't. I mean, I checked them. I mean, I guess it's possible there was a sock inside of it, but I don't think there was. But if there was, their message back was pretty funny. It was like, and I'll mail you your sock back if you want it.
That's too good. That is just too good.
Like, keep the sock.
Okay, but how did you make sure you didn't get banned though?
I mean, it's one of those things. Like my wife and I have come to the conclusion that for cost of doing business, we don't have free returns. We probably should get that set up soon. I know you've been telling us, but 9 times out of 10, we're able to we'll eat the cost, right? Sometimes it's just cheaper just to let them keep the item, than to deal with. So we've had some times where they've shipped it back, but we've actually gotten pretty lucky where every single time we've either won the case from eBay or the people who want the refund or the return, they go crickets on us and they just never follow through with their part.
So did you do the silent treatment? Like you just sent one message and then that's it?
The one message of like, we'll do the return, like please send us pictures or go ahead and start the process, and then nothing back.
Okay. Yeah. And if you don't know what we're talking about, and I will say this isn't our original idea, but Scavenger Life talks about this on their podcast a lot. Great podcast, by the way, if you haven't had a chance to listen to them. If somebody asks you for a question after they made the purchase, that is, it's okay if they're just asking about the item, like, hey, how does this work or how does this do? But if they're unhappy with an item, right, and they message you, right, and they're looking for a partial refund or they want to just, tell you how disgusted they are and blah, blah, you just email back. You just send the message. Again, make sure it's an eBay messages. Don't email back. Make sure it's an eBay. Don't get banned by going outside of eBay messages. And you just say, hey, we're sorry that I don't know, whatever way you want to word it. I always put, I apologize for the inconvenience. So I never admit fault. I always say, I apologize for the inconvenience. You're welcome to return it for a full refund as long as the item is returned in the original condition it was shipped. And that's it. So if they reply like, I can't believe blah, blah, I don't say anything. If they say, I can't believe you did this, I don't say anything. If they reply that they want a partial refund, I don't say anything. That's it. Like, nice. I never respond again.
You want to hear something interesting?
Yeah.
So we're just now dealing with this with Poshmark. And this might be a positive, might be another reason for you to get onto Poshmark.
Oh, okay.
So we have... in the same week, we haven't had a single problem with any of our Poshmark salesmen. In the same week, we've had 2 complaints. One complaint, gosh, I don't even know what it was. Some random thing. They didn't like the size or something. But one complaint was like a big one where they said that the shorts were not the size that we advertise, which is size 4, right? Size 4/27, whatever that ends up being.
You didn't have measurements, though.
No, we had 3-inch inseam. We knew what the inseam was. Okay. We knew what the waist. We knew the waist measurement because that was a 27-inch waist measurement, right? Nice. So we had measurements.
That's good.
And so we sent the item to them. They complained, say it doesn't fit. These are ridiculously large. Like they should have been shown on a picture with a model, so I would have known what the fit, right? And it's like, well,
what kind of model? Yeah, I mean, you can have all kinds of models.
So anyway, so we responded back because Poshmark, when a case is opened against you, you're like on a thread with Poshmark, the customer, and you, and they like say like an event has been opened, like would you like to leave a comment? And so we just said like, well, that's the size of the shorts. Like we listed what was on the tag. This is how it was described. And then we started doing some research because I remember what the other one was. Another person claimed that the item that we sent them was a fake, which is not true because it was a new with tags Macy's return. Like it had the Macy's return tag on it before we sent it to them. So like it's not a fake item. It's a real item.
So let's talk about how you resolve it. I'll talk about fakes and how you deal with fakes.
Sure. So anyway, so with that one, we said, look, we'll respond on the Poshmark thing. We know this isn't a fake. However, we want to make sure our customers are comfortable with their purchases. And so we like to return.
That's awesome.
Yeah, something to that effect. So anyways, we started doing some research and you can't do returns on Poshmark. There's no returns.
100%. Yeah, and I knew that.
So here's how it works. So you send the item to them. If they accept it, the money's yours. They can complain all they want. If they don't accept it, then it goes into, because Poshmark's holding the money, it goes into like debate. And unless you mess up really bad and send something like the wrong item or something like that, but then you have to figure out the return outside of Poshmark, right? I guess is the way it works. But one of the things is we've had like one or two like lower reviews because it's like a star system instead of like just positive and negative. Okay. It's like 1 star to 5 stars. We've had a couple people do 2 stars for weird things like item is exactly as described, just doesn't fit me, 2 stars, right? It's
what?
Like, well, that's not fair.
That's so wrong.
But what we've noticed is it doesn't mean anything on Poshmark.
Really?
Your ranking on Poshmark, you have to like click into like 5 different things inside of a person's profile before you can get to like anything about their ranking. So when you're looking up items, it doesn't have like the person's name and then like their star ranking next to it.
Huh.
So having low rankings or like having a couple bad reviews doesn't affect you at all, as far as I can tell.
Interesting. Wow.
So it's kind of nice. Like people can be upset. And I mean, of course, if you're breaking rules or being really deceptive or something like that, then yeah, I'm sure Poshmark is going to come down on that. But when you have that one-off random customer who's just being a nightmare, oh, sorry, too bad, so sad.
Okay. No, I've heard that there's no returns. I mean, there's some, major resellers that cross-post and they like Poshmark for that reason. So yeah, I think it's a good point. Now with fakes, I just wanted to add something to fakes. So I've had people like, for instance, I've gone to garage sales and like sometimes you see like North Face backpacks, right? You'll pick them up for $1 or $2, and I've sold multiple of them. But I've gotten it before, like this is a fake backpack, like this is made, and so, and you're selling fake merchandise. Here's the deal with fake stuff. It really is they said, you said, or he said, she said, or whatever way you want to term it kind of deal. Right? Because eBay has no authentication program, right? So eBay's not going to go in and go that you're selling fake stuff. We're going to cancel your account. Now, if you're a major reseller and you're importing from another country or something, they may do that. But ultimately, the argument's between you and the other person, right? And I've had stuff that people have said is fake. I know it's not fake. I know it's authentic, but the person on the other side thinks, they're like some expert and whatever. And so they'll claim it's fake and they tell me they're going to report me to eBay and so on. And all I do is like, hey, I'm so sorry you're unhappy with your purchase. You can return it for a full refund. And that's it.
And then silent treatment.
Don't even engage. Like, I can't tell you, especially, and I've talked about this a few podcasts ago, we're at a place that there are so many bootleg things being made now. It's really hard to authenticate certain things. Like, have you seen lately the latest craze with Air Force Ones? It's pretty cool. You know what Air Force Ones are, the Nike shoes?
The old school Nike shoes?
Yeah, so people now buy the white ones. I think I want to make some pure.
Could go stomping in my Air Force Ones.
Yeah, there you go. So it's getting late, by the way. So I want to make some Purosa podcast shoes. Like, wouldn't that be sweet?
Oh my goodness.
Like for us, not to sell. I mean, I don't know who's going to want them. No, but serious. No, they're cool. Like, did you ever watch the episode of Slavi's World and that guy had like the Super Mario 3 shoes made?
No.
Okay. So anyways, it's the latest thing now. Like, so people will buy the white Air Force Ones and they'll pay somebody to airbrush them and they'll airbrush a design. So sometimes people will do cartoons or they'll do like, they want some Burberry collab look. I mean, they're not real, they're bootleg, but they look pretty awesome. So, let some people sell some of those things, right? On eBay. Like, I mean, unless, a Nike or somebody has a Vero put on that item, which does happen, right? It's really hard for somebody to make the argument. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So don't get baned. I mean, if you know your stuff and you're being accused of having something fake, I would say don't admit to it, but do recognize that person is probably unhappy with their purchase, which is true.
And recognize too, especially if you're getting stuff at garage sales or thrift stores, that it is very possible that they're right.
I agree. Well, yeah. I mean, I did I ever tell you, I've shared the Supreme shirts that I bought at a garage sale for $5.
And the stitching was off.
And I got baned. But you know what? After watching Slavi's World and how he sells bootleg Gucci 20 years later, I'm going to save those fake
Hold
Supreme
on to
shirts.
them,
I'm gonna hold
and
on
then
to
sell them.
and sell them later.
Put authentic 2018 fake Supreme shirts.
And there you go. I'm serious.
Vintage knockoff Supremes. Yeah, I bet it'll be a thing.
There you go. So I share one more story here about, dealing with buyers. So I recently ran into this. So this person, I'm counting them up as we're doing the podcast. This person messaged me. I'm taking a look here. Do you see that?
Oh, goodness.
That's all one person.
And you didn't block them?
No, they're blocked now. What do you think? Probably 35 messages.
Unbelievable.
35 messages. Okay. So I'm not going to read all of them, but let me start with message one.
Yeah, I'll go to sleep if you start with that. Let me know when you're done.
Okay. Before I get into this, okay, I dressed up for this podcast, but Mike dressed like he's going to go on some hike out in the snow.
Yeah, I'm comfortable, man.
Is it really that cold in here?
No, it's not that cold. It's just I haven't shaved my head in a while, and I'm trying to,
okay,
gotta keep the dome covered up.
I get it. So are you shaving this? You shouldn't shave. If I don't shave, you don't shave.
I'm not letting it grow. Like if you look at some of our earlier
They're
episodes,
awesome. Like
my beard is like boom.
Comment below. Should Mike grow out the beard?
I do every summer. As a teacher, I always worry about growing it too long because I start getting comments by admin about like, wow, your beard is really starting to get long.
I know. And you always hear like, people aren't as trusting of bearded folks. Right? That's the line.
Except for mine is always, even when it's long, it's nice and manicured. And I feel like that's different.
Yeah, I got to talk to Mike about that grooming of beards.
You want me to teach you how to do it? Is that what you're saying?
There you go. There's a whole, hey, if you're looking into private label, there's a whole world of like beard grooming out there. I just noticed.
Oh, heck yeah, there is. You didn't know that?
There's like beard straighteners.
Oh, you got oils, you got balms, you got shampoos and conditioners, you've got different weights of combs, types of combs, materials for brushes. I mean, you get yourself a nice boar's hair brush for your beard, get the right oil in there. It's good stuff.
Okay. All right, let's get back. Do we always get on these tangents? It's getting late. That's why we're getting in these tangents. All right. So that was the first comment. First comment. Did you guys send the shoes? Okay, this was purchased only a few hours ago. So, and this was, they paid for at 2 p.m., right? So, okay. Then the next message I get is, oh, I got the wrong address. Let me give you the real address. So automatically I'm like, hey, within eBay's guidelines, that's one thing. Another thing, don't get banged. You must ship to the address that is on the eBay and the PayPal account. If you ship to any other address, you lose your seller protection. So what you need to do is cancel that transaction and let the person know. Well, don't cancel it yet. Let them know, hey, if you want me to send it to another address, please cancel. Please let me know you want to cancel, and then I'll send you the item number once the item is relisted, and you're welcome to purchase it again with the revised address. But make sure you revise it before you buy again. So huge because, I've had people on IG say, oh, I changed it, no big deal. But I'm telling you, like, you can get scammed really easy, and there's nothing you can do about it. Okay. All right. We're going to go a few more messages down. Next one was, oh, the address was changed. But here's the problem. Not sure what happened, but the item never made it. And then I message back, well, the tracking shows it was delivered. Then they say, hey, can you call the post office for me? And so anyways, I don't want to, it went on and on and on. And so what ended up happening, the address was messed up and it got sent back to me. Then I get the shoes back and I say, you know what? Here's the thing. I can either resend it to you, but you'll have to pay $9.99 for the shoes to get shipped back to you. Now, one thing advice I'll tell you, and I get DMs all the time from people like, hey, what do you think I should do? Call eBay. Just call eBay. They're there for you. Hey, by the way, we're going to eBay Open.
Yeah.
And you know what one of the perks is? We get concierge service, meaning for the whole year after, we get a direct line to a North American eBay representative.
Nice.
So anyways, one of the perks. So if you're not going to eBay Open, just something to think about.
Hey, there you go.
So, okay, go
Worth
back
the cost of admission right there.
with the
maybe.
cost of admission. Early bird. Make sure you do the early bird. Now, what ended up happening was I called eBay and I'm like, hey, listen, this shoe got sent back to me. I don't want to ship it out. I'm going to lose money for shipping it out. This is on the buyer. They messed up on the address. Said, hey, no problem. Just let them know to send you a PayPal amount and ship it out again. Make sure the address is right. You're totally fine. And if they give you negative feedback, we'll make sure to remove it. So always call eBay. Like I'm not sure why people hesitate, but maybe it's because you call an international person and you feel they don't understand. Like they've been trained. They deal with hundreds of thousands of phone calls. So they're never going to run into a scenario they haven't heard of. So I call eBay and I tell them this, and then I message back the person and they are livid. They're like, what? You're really going to make me pay? And I just messaged back. I said, well, unfortunately, this was a result of you having the incorrect address. Actually, I didn't say you. Don't ever use words like you. Don't make it too personal. Just say, unfortunately, the address is incorrect that was being sent. You see how the blow is softened?
Yeah, you might be right about that.
No, I'm serious.
I know. I'm just
okay. I don't know. I had to learn this stuff. Like, again, I talk about my VP skills. Like, yep. I learned that when you speak in third person about people directly, it goes a lot better.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. Yep. So I just messaged back and I said, unfortunately, the address is incorrect and I'm going to need to charge you. Like that, and so then they said, really? I have to pay? So my final message was, unfortunately, and I didn't say, I said, unfortunately, I think the best case scenario here is to cancel the order. I appreciate your business. And I just canceled it and I blocked them.
Whoa.
That's it. Then they messaged me 10 more times. Silent treatment, silent treatment, silent treatment.
I thought you blocked them.
No, they can still message you.
Oh, really?
If it's tied to an item, they can message you.
Interesting.
So then, no joke. You're looking at the dates. Like 3 weeks later, I get this. Hey, we never got our refund and we contacted our bank. They said they never got the money. Right? This is legit. You're looking at this right now. So all I did is I took a screenshot of this transaction. It's not on this. It's in another attachment. And I sent to them. I said, unfortunately, you probably need to call PayPal because it probably didn't get transferred to your bank. That's it. Crickets. Now, that could have gone multiple ways, right? I could have, I definitely think this was an INAT, item not as described, waiting to happen. I think they would have given me negative feedback had I not called eBay. I mean, it could have gone various different ways. I could have been baned. But again, silent treatment, call eBay. Don't take it personal. Don't admit to stuff and try to resolve it. Remember, customer is always right in the end, but it doesn't mean you have to sell your soul.
I like that. Good stuff.
You like that? So, hey, I hope with this episode you gained a lot of perspective on, some of the mistakes we've made. You probably could relate. I hope this resonated with many of you. But hey, make sure you're not getting baned out there.
Yeah, and let us know in the comments, what is your story? Like, I'm sure you got many of them, but like, what is like the story?
But let's keep it positive. How did you work through it?
And how did you work through it?
Because it can be a whole rant about.
There's nothing wrong with that. We will be here to listen to you rant. You go for that.
I like to keep it positive.
I'm all for keeping it positive, but like, I feel like you're like artificially trying to keep it positive.
No. I'm not going there. We got to be real. Real, relevant reselling.
But what if real isn't always positive?
That is true. You're right. But whatever.
From the previous episode, you might be right.
You might be right. No, you learned. See? Now Mike knows my trick. So if you haven't heard that in the last podcast, you should go listen to it. You'll know what he's talking about. So, hey, with all that being said, it's kind of late. So make sure you're being real.
Be positive. Be relevant.
And be reselling.
Peace.